We are so fucking back. Welcome to another edition of Rent Money. Texas Pete on the mic, joined always by my guy, Old Chisholm. The duo more affectionately known as the Disgusting Brothers are fucking back this week. It's a foxhole episode, and the Disgusting Bros got you covered. Run it back Jones couldn't make it to this week's episode. He's still a bit under the weather from last weekend's heartbreak in Kinnick, but we're here to give you the same college football content that you know and love, recapping week 11, previewing week 12, maybe even have a surprise guest for you all. Stay tuned for the week 12 preview for that. It's sad to say, Chisholm, but the 2025 season is coming down to the wire. We'll be discussing the second iteration of the CFP rankings, standings, whatever you want to call them. Breaking down the Heisman race, and we'll be tracking both of those throughout the end of the season, and we're stoked to be here with you all. As a reminder, you can catch our weekly live streams on X, YouTube, TikTok at the Pop Off Pod, but you guys already knew that. That's why this week's episode is sponsored by you all, the loyal listeners, those who never miss an episode, those who are always on time, those who make time in their schedule in your busy week. Whether you're traveling, you're feeling sick, you're out of town, or have a rec league playoff basketball game, you make time for us, so we'll make damn sure to make time for you. Thank you very much for listening. Let's get into this week's episode. Woo! OC, Disgusting Brothers, Foxhole episode. How we doing, man?
I'm in the foxhole. I'm in it. I'm next to you.
Back to back, bro.
We're disgusting.
Disgusting. Disgusting is definitely the word that comes to mind when I'm watching a handful of these games from past weekend. But we're not going to kick it off with that. We're going to go ahead and kick it off with the winners. This is a winning podcast that we have here. We're going to give you some winning picks. And to do that, you got to cover the winners, but you got to cover the losers too. But big winners from last weekend, that's going to be A&M, Bama, and Texas Tech. All of these guys are within the top 6 of the second iteration of the CFP rankings, and they kind of manhandled their opponents last weekend. Started off with, I think it was game day and the noon slate, BYU at Texas Tech. It was Texas Tech 29, BYU 7. I know this is a 22-point game, but this is probably the biggest win. This felt like the largest 22-point win in NCAA history because Texas Tech was just dominating them from the jump. BYU didn't really stand a chance into this game, but holy shit, man. It really makes you wonder here because Texas Tech, what do they rank? 6th right now. Had Baron Morton not gotten injured earlier this season, they'd probably be vying for a top 4 seed. I mean, these guys are just dominating every opponent they play. Have won every game, excluding that obviously one loss by 20-something points. I clearly going to be coming out of the Big 12 now. Just phenomenal game from Texas Tech, and really makes you wonder. But the best of ability is availability. Ain't that right, Chisholm?
I would say yes, personally. As a guy who's consistently available, it's up to us to rise to the challenge, make things happen.
Yeah.
I technically missed one episode this year due to technical difficulties during work travel. Went for the free Wi-Fi in the hotel. Lesson learned, not making that mistake ever again.
Virus.
I've yet to miss another podcast, I believe, this season. Is that correct or is that wrong?
You're chilling, man. I will say one thing going back there. I feel like viruses aren't a big thing anymore on technology. And I'm not hoping for it. I'm not looking for it, but like, I feel like that was a way bigger problem 10, 15 years ago than it kind of is in today's world.
What else do you notice about today's world?
Well, the colors don't seem as bright until I've had about my 4th beer. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
All right. I've noticed something, if you'll indulge me.
Please.
I'm growing more and more concerned by the day at the lack of doorknobs. You're seeing them pretty much going extinct for door handles, the push things. If you're handicapped and you can't open a door because it has a knob, then just hit the button, and it'll open for you. Or better yet, ask your fellow citizen to hold the door open for you. I held the door open at the bodega earlier, picking up a little sixer for three young girls that were going in to get some snacks. Dad dropped them off, and they were very, very fired up and excited. All three of them said thank you. Very, very polite. Like they were fired up to just be there, and they all said thank you. One of them said thank you, sir. I don't really know how to feel about that other than, I feel respected, but also, a little bit of, I don't know if imposter syndrome is the right word there, but a little bit of confusion because I myself still view myself as, an 11-year-old child sometimes. And I have to remind myself no, you're a grown man.
Sometimes for sure. What would you say is the age cutoff between sir and man? Because I know what you're saying there. I'm a yes sir, no sir kind of guy. Just the household I was raised in. Not that they were super strict, but have some respect for others. But when I'm seeing like a colleague or something, walking across the office, and he's about the same age as me, I'll give him a "What's up, man," as opposed to how you doing, sir? Like no, not that I would say that to a coworker or anything, but there is this cutoff there, and I don't know what the exact age is.
Cutoff is in giving. At what point do you stop calling someone sir or ma'am?
No, as in the age
Receiving?
threshold of whether I hit you with a man. Because if you're at my age, I'm being like, "What's up, man?" You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's up,
right.
man?
So it is giving the sir or the ma'am.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I think for me it depends less on. I think age is the first thing, like stature or
Okay, stature.
hierarchy. Those would be second, right? If you're in a position of power, whether physically or politically, maybe economically, right? But stature, how are you presenting yourself on a given day? I think third would be.
I think that's the biggest factor too, mind you, what you just touched on.
I think the second one is probably I just kind of hit on like 4 or 5 within that one bullet point, so we could probably call it good there.
Yeah. Okay. A little bit of discussion for you there, but we're going back to the winners from this past weekend, and that's Alabama. Alabama won 20-9 against LSU. LSU is kind of in a dumpster fire situation here. I mean, you could call it that, but bench Garrett Nussmeier, brought in a redshirt freshman backup. This is just a program that fell flat on their face. I was completely on the wrong side of this going into the season. I will admit that hand up right now. But I will say if we learned anything from Penn State, which we'll maybe talk about right after this game, takes about a handful of weeks for a program to really get back on their feet, post a head coach firing, that is. I think there's some value to be had in these upcoming games for them. So set a reminder for that. We'll keep an eye on it. But other than that, not really a great game to watch. But what was a great game to watch, and I don't know if you caught most of this, Chisholm, or not, but Indiana 27, Penn State 24. Came down to a Mendoza, Doses and Mendozas. That's what we're calling him here on his Heisman campaign.
Okay.
Copyrighted the nickname already, so if you guys are looking for it, it's already taken. Fourth quarter drive, come from behind. Penn State took the lead. Boom, boom, boom. Mendoza comes down, throws the catch of the season probably. I mean, when I saw it live, it really didn't look like he got his foot down. I see the first replay. It still didn't look because I thought his foot skimmed the outside. But if you guys know what I'm talking about, maybe we can insert a clip or we'll repost it on our socials for you. But just seriously, the catch of the year. And I forget the receiver's name, and I'm really not doing him justice right now. But his helmet got all the way up to the crossbar in the back of the end zone for the win. Indiana stays undefeated, which is phenomenal. This is the first game that they haven't covered in a minute for us. But maybe we'll still keep that auto bet on. And Gus Johnson literally creamed his pants at that moment, which brings us to the Heisman race a little bit later. We'll talk about in this episode, but Mendoza is definitely in the mix. One of the top 2 favorites there, deservingly so. Just absolutely killer game to watch. I don't know if you have any takeaways from that one or not, Chisholm.
I really don't. I was very much dialed in. I would say as far as games go, was trying to do my best to tune into the Louisville and Cal game. Cal getting the
Really?
upset. I like Brome a lot. I know like they're obviously
Yeah.
going through and getting that extension for him, but last year, they I would say the last few years, like just as a Notre Dame fan, I've been very impressed with some of the skill players that they've been able to put out on the field, given defenses fits, like individuals completely wrecking games. Um,
I
you
didn't know
don't get
you
to
were an
see
ACC
that.
appreciator.
I I I don't think that's what I would say, but I do like Jeff Brom a lot. Um,
Okay.
the XFL or CFL speech that he gave back in the day, where he was like, "Do I still have air in my lungs? All right, let's go play
Yep.
football." Like that's a guy I would want to run out of the tunnel for every Saturday. But
Hell yeah.
outside of that one, how about them Demon Deacons? Speaking of the ACC, taking down Virginia, 16-9.
Yup.
Robbie motherfucking Ashford, one of my favorite guys to play with in the college football video game. Talk about a dual threat
He's got to be
quarterback.
fast as fuck, dude.
He's
Yeah.
speed demon out there. Not as speed demon though as Demond. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I used to think it was Demon. I don't think it is, but yeah, these two
Who's
games
Demond?
right here. He's stud running back for Wake Forest, absolute beast.
Got it.
Very
Yeah.
shifty, but
Oh, there we go. I see him.
Yep. I think these two games more than anything else go to show that a ranking is a target. The higher you're ranked, the bigger the target on your back. Teams want to get up. They want to beat you. It doesn't matter what they've done previously in their season. Cal, Wake Forest, both of those teams coming in, taking advantage of it. And if you're a bettor, you better be paying close attention to where teams are being ranked, why they're ranked there, and what the line is on all of these games, because we've called out how many stinky rat cheese lines over the course of this year alone, because of it's such a tumultuous environment, I would say, where things are changing. Yeah. It's very volatile. You got to be agile, and you got to be willing to roll with the punches when it comes to betting on a college football Saturday.
And Chisholm, this brings up a good point. I was reading, or I guess I was like reading into a discussion that was being had, and I know Kirk Herbstreit commented on it in pretty extensive detail as well. But I just feel like this generation of sports and fandom and individuals in general are kind of, I don't want to say obsessed with rankings, with quantifying, everything, pretty much everything in life, but like. I feel like college football is getting a little bit too into the ranking scenario. And I know obviously that means, you're going to be a top X team. You're going to be in the playoffs. And that's very important. It obviously is. That's your goal, is to win a championship through and through. But I feel like in a sense, we've discredited these still pretty damn good teams more than we have in the past. Like if you would have, 10, 15 years ago, you could say if you went 10-3 and you had a couple great wins out there and you won your bowl game, like that was a hell of a season. You know what I mean? And that's something to hang your hat on. You're going in the right direction. While obviously your goal is to win a conference championship, is to win the national championship. That's obviously not true for more than a handful of teams throughout the season, and one for winning the actual title. But I'm curious to think, like, do we get too obsessed with ratings? I mean, maybe on this podcast, or just like maybe in general. Like, do you think there is better value of college football to be watched out there? When you're not necessarily just looking for the highest rated team matchups, or what are your thoughts? Because you kind of touched on two of those games you watched last weekend and really enjoyed.
I mean, I'm the type of guy that I would rather watch like some of my favorite and most entertaining football to watch is when it's two lower rated teams that have nothing to lose but everything to gain. Like it's the exact opposite of a game like we'll touch on, Iowa City.
And we're falling victim to it as well. That's exactly my point. But it's like it is the games that are the big ones that you have to cover. So
you have to cover those for sure. But it's also why we call it the Fun Belt, right? It's not the Sun Belt, it's the Fun Belt. They get in there, they have fun, they enjoy themselves. It's a whole thing. And it's the ACC. We've been talking about them a weird amount on this podcast.
Kind of fun.
They're like a cooler Big 12, like there's there's not really any teams in the ACC that have like a great record anymore. Everybody's just kind of trying to suck less than everyone else. I feel like Miami kind of figured out, hey, we really don't need to try that hard. It's going to be okay. And then everybody else kind of started doing the same thing. So we'll figure that out. The Mountain West, brother. If you want to talk about some interesting shit, San Diego State, Boise State, and Hawaii are sitting at 4-1, 4-1, and 4-2 respectively in their conference standings. Overall, they're 7-2, 6-3, 7-3. That's going to be a wild stretch to finish the season for those three teams. New Mexico, UNLV, Fresno State are also kind of in the equation. They're all sitting at 3-2, but 6-3, 7-2, 6-3 overall. That's like 6 teams right there that
Chisholm,
are in the hunt.
I got a question for you. What was the last late night, think like 9 p.m. or later kickoff college football game you really sunk your teeth into? Can you recall? It had to be one of those teams. You know, it's going to be Mountain West, Pac-12, or former Pac-12.
UCLA, Nebraska this last Saturday.
Oh shit! Was that late?
It was later.
It was good.
Not a lot.
Oh, that was a
honestly.
good game. No, I didn't.
The backup for Nebraska is kind of a stud, though. I will say, I was like, damn,
Raiola was out.
Raiola is out, and the backup he's kind of a unit. Like, might be more entertaining to watch. Yeah, very much a dual threat guy.
Like,
but with a unit cannon of an arm.
Was he like a Deacon Hill unit, or was he like
a Robbie Ashford? Unit? Yes, dude. Okay. Wow. The fact that I didn't even have to tee you up for that, you just.
There's something special here on the mic today, folks. For those
listening, we strike again.
And if you're just listening on Spotify, we absolutely love it. But you got to tune into the live stream. You just got to watch the replays.
Come a little bit. Come have fun. Come have fun with us.
But just moving forward, so I wanted to talk about those fun games, and obviously a team that Chisholm has been high on for a lot of the season, maybe the past like 2 seasons almost, has been A&M. Absolutely rolled this Mizzou team. I don't know if this was our bad research or because we taped earlier in the week, but I didn't realize that Mizzou's quarterback, Bo Pribula, was out for this game.
From a previous week's
injury. I know. I didn't know that at the time. Otherwise, I would have just absolutely blasted away on A&M. But that's what happens when you tape, early on Tuesdays. Maybe that's on us. But this game was completely over once A&M went up 21-0. Final score for those at home: A&M 38, Mizzou 17. Barring a fluke this weekend against South Carolina, A&M should be in the SEC championship game. Pending maybe bullshit tiebreakers. But regardless of the Texas game at the end of the season, you know what I mean? They'd have one conference loss going into it. I think they've been the leader all season. I don't know what those tiebreakers are yet. We'll do a little bit more digging when week 12 and 13 come up. But A&M should definitely have their season's far from over. Let's just leave it at that. But going over to a team that seasons might be over, and as much as it pains me to bring it up, this was the game that I was most looking forward to in my fandom since going to university, pretty much. This was a big culture-changing game. I feel like we were due. Not only were we due for one, but like the fans really needed this one. And I feel like there was a lot of parts that were clicking in our direction. And I'm talking about the Oregon at Iowa game. Oregon won 18-16. Just so heartbreaking, man. This is the bootstrapping yourself off your ass, getting back into winning these types of games moment. The weird, the sloppy, the heavyweight blows back and forth. That these typically fall in the Hawks' favor, especially when you're at Kinnick Stadium. And I really feel like we outplayed them for a good portion of the game, at least the majority of it, right? We had a massive red zone interception in the first half that took points off the board when we really needed it. It was pretty much a one-possession game throughout. We took a lead late in the fourth quarter with less than 2 minutes left. It was really all there for us. And like when you're in that situation and you're in a one-score game and you just took the lead, I would rather have our defensive unit out there than our offense. You know what I'm saying? As far as clutching up in that situation and doing what you need to do to pull out a W there, I'll take Iowa's defense out there, 7.5 times to 10. And maybe that changes this year because these Hawks have gone on some pretty good fourth quarter runs against Penn State, against Oregon here. Obviously, Gronowski led like an 85-yard drive that ate up like 7 minutes of clock in the fourth quarter. And that's the type of shit that typically wins you games in college football. But uncharacteristically, like the defense, letting up 7 yards per rush, that's just gonna kill you. You know what I mean? Like Gronowski threw for more yards than Dante Moore in this game. If you would have told me that in the pregame, I would have said 100% the Hawks won, probably by 2 scores, which just wasn't the case. Super, super disappointing. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm really upset about it. We're right there. That's being right there against Indiana as well. But I don't know if you had any takeaways from this game as far as, is this actually a stepping stone or like a building stone of a foundation for this kind of new identity Hawkeye program? Or is this a season that could have been great and kind of just petered away from a handful of plays or bounces or whatnot that didn't go our way?
Dude, I worry that this is more so just a bad Oregon team comparatively, and that this is just nothing out of the ordinary for
You
Iowa.
think so?
I don't believe that inherently, but it's a talking point that needs to get brought up that
Yeah.
we just held Oregon to 18 points and lost. All right. That's with Gronowski. That's with Tim Lester and the new OC, right? That's with Vanderzee being back off of injury. It's like, at what point do we run out of what ifs, right? At what point do you stop saying what if and you start saying why not? What happened? There's just other trains of thought that we probably could go down. I'm not even remotely close there yet. I'm so fucking depressed about this game in particular. I mean, I really wholeheartedly thought that they had it in the bag. The Kamari Moulton 2-point conversion, while it was still standing, that was one of the highlights of probably my Q4, if I'm being honest, my fiscal quarter 4. Outside of that, though, almost as soon as they reversed it, I know we were talking about this in the production meeting. Steelers and Bengals Sunday Night Football not too long ago, a game that Pittsburgh should have dominated but didn't. As soon as they scored the touchdown and you saw how much time was left on the clock and realized that all that was needed to happen for us to lose that game is a field goal.
Dude, I will say one positive takeaway from this, and I'm sure you've seen the clips floated across your socials too, but the absolute from the Kinnick crowd when Gronowski converted that 4th and goal with like a minute 50 left. That was just proving how much these fans are just looking for that big time win back in Kinnick Stadium again. Looks like we're probably gonna have to wait another year, unfortunately, for to take down one of these higher caliber programs. But that is a positive. I personally am pretty optimistic. I think we completely broke the narrative of the past 2.5, 3 seasons of the Iowa offense meme that has been kind of the laughing stock of college football. Clearly we've showed this year that we've done enough where we can go ahead and, compete with some of these big names and compete consistently, put up, those 30, 40 points or whatever we have. Very disappointing, sad day walking out of this one, but nonetheless, Oregon obviously is a really good team. They're ranked in the top 10 of the CFP, which we're going to go ahead and move into right now. But before we get into that, Chisholm, I know this is a big month for you. Yeah.
And before we get into this ad read, I do want to talk about how cute. I don't know if cute's the right word. I feel like you don't really say that for a coach often, but Kirk Ferentz in his old age you're starting to see more and more emotion shown from him on the sidelines. There was a fumble or something happened at one point in the game, and I saw him genuinely get excited. Like, arms went in the air like this for a moment. And, the once stoic, philosopher, whatever the fuck you want to call him. I call him, our father. Kirk leads the way. He gets the job done. But yeah, great point. It is November. But in the Chisholm household, it's Movember, as you could probably tell. Quick timeout here before we get into the rest of the chaos. Mustaches are out. They're in the wild once again. And before you go and chirp one of your buddies for looking like an undercover mall cop. In the 1970s, or a gas station attendant circa 1989. Is that a Taylor Swift reference? I don't know. I'm going to have a conversation with Nadveet about writing these ads, but remember why this month matters. Movember isn't about growing the world's creepiest lip sweater. It is about men's health, mental health, suicide prevention, prostate cancer, testicular cancer. It's real shit that way too many guys and gals pretend isn't happening because we would rather just tough it out or go get a beer and forget that it's happening at all. But spoiler alert, much like the sun, you're going to lose that battle 10 times out of 10. So layer up with some UV sunscreen while you're at it. And here's my ask for all of you. Just check in on your people, your brothers, your coworkers, your golf buddies, the one friend that always shows up and never finds a way to contribute to the conversation, but he's there physically. He's there. Actually ask how they're doing. Ask if, they need anything. A lot of interesting dessert selections coming up. Ask them what they're going for at the Thanksgiving table here in a few weeks. If you want to donate, if you want to get involved, go to Movember.com, toss a few bucks towards the cause. Anything helps. And if you are growing a mustache, much like myself, commit to it. Let it just get awful. Much like this episode, let it get disgusting a little bit. All right. Let it haunt.
Disgusting.
Let it haunt your fiancés, your girlfriends, your wife's dreams, and wear it proudly because it stands for something a hell of a lot bigger than your face. But all that being said, shout out to the good folks over at Movember. Let's get back to the show.
Yes, sir. Great message. Moving it on. CFP rankings. This is the second iteration of the rankings. No movement in the top 5. We'll go ahead and rattle those guys off for you real quick. Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Bama, and Georgia. Those all remains the same. Little bit of movement, though, in pretty much the next 7 or so, which is kind of interesting to think about. Texas Tech, after their dominating win against undefeated 8th-ranked BYU, they moved up to the 6th spot. They moved up 2 slots. Ole Miss notched down 1 to 7. Oregon went up 1 with an impressive win at Kinnick at 8. And the Irish, who we'll talk about, who have a big matchup this weekend. College game day is going there. The Irish are at the 9 spot, so they are in as of now. There's no, they went out. They're going to control their destiny, which we've always known for a while, but they've kind of just been creeping up those standings week over week. Not really a super impressive win that kind of skyrocketed them up there. It's more so been consistency for them. So as of right now, they are in. They control their destiny, which is great. And then Texas and Oklahoma and BYU round out the top 12. But I believe BYU and Oklahoma would be the first teams out, given an ACC champion and a G6 champion. Any surprises from the second iteration of the rankings? I feel like that was kind of with the status quo. There wasn't any major upset here outside of BYU falling off, but we kind of knew that when BYU and Texas Tech were both listed up there. I feel like the committee was just saying, hey, here's these 2 Big 12 teams. They're playing this weekend. Obviously, the winner is going to get the nod as far as these, current iterations of the rankings. But I wasn't really shocked by anything. How about you?
I'm not really shocked by much yet. I will say that the run of Texas A&M, Bama, Georgia being 3, 4, 5 is going to be really interesting when it comes time for picking the first 4 seeds. Like, obviously, You're going to have the conference championship winners, but then also who's that 4th team going to be and why? Bama, Georgia, both duking it out for that right now. Ole Miss sneaky at number 7. Texas, Oklahoma at 10 and 11. That's 5 of the 12 teams are all SEC vying for spots. Big 10 kind of dominating the rest of that. And then you have a little bit of Big 12 for Texas Tech and BYU. Is there no ACC still?
They'll be in there. Probably going to be
Miami's going to sneak in, right?
It'd be It'd be whoever wins the ACC championship. I mean, I haven't really dug into the schedules there. You were kind of our ACC correspondent for the week.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
joking.
I dropped the ball on
But
that. But
there
if
will be an ACC team in there, unless it's fucking Duke, which I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
talk
say,
about this week.
I mean, dude, if you have Notre Dame in there at 9 and Miami's not, that's gonna piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Where's Miami have 2
What are you gonna do?
losses? SMU and Louisville, though, 2 unranked losses. Pretty nasty. Is my loss better than your loss? I don't know. I'm not going to focus on that.
Also, quick shout out
Anyways,
to South Florida, looking like they're
yep,
gonna be our bid for the G5.
yep.
Like a
G6. Thank you
G6.
very much.
Shout out to the Far East movement. Yeah. Give credit where it's
That's
due.
correct. USF, the Bulls, they are currently in the post position for the G6 bid right now. So we'll keep an eye on that and definitely keep you updated there because that's always a fun one to watch. Iowa, just got to mention them. They stayed at 21, so we're going to have a couple little numbers next to us for the rest of the season after we whoop USC's ass this week. So that's always kind of fun. Don't really have a puncher's chance even, but they're just kind of keeping us there for the sympathy, maybe propping up some other Big Ten teams. I'm not sure. Don't really get that vibe from the playoff committee that they are going to be, kind of Big Ten friendly and whatnot. But definitely getting the vibe that the SEC is going to sneak 6 teams in there. I don't know how it's going to get done, but I feel like this is kind of the year to do it. But I don't really have anything else on that. We'll keep you updated as we go throughout the season. These next 2 segments is going to be a recurring for you guys, and the next one here is going to be the Heisman standings. We're going to highlight these top 4 for you guys. Looking like it's a quarterback award again. Is it a 2-pony race? I don't know. Maybe you guys can decide, but right now that's what the bookmakers have it at. Fernando Mendoza's and Mendoza's. First of all, Chisholm, what do you think about that nickname? Is that a keeper? Doses and Mendoza's or Doses and Mendoza's?
Say them both again, but a little bit slower.
Like doses and mimosas. You know what I'm talking about.
Right,
obviously.
right. Yeah, champagne and
cocaine.
Right, yeah.
Doses and Mendoza's?
Second one now?
Doses and Mendoza's.
I like the first one more. I think the second one is more
Mendoza's.
correct in terms of pronunciation, but the first one is more correct in terms of the point that we're hitting on.
If you read it on our socials, it'll click a little bit better for you. So go ahead and make sure to look us up at Pop Off Pod and do that. But right now, Mendoza and Sayin, they are the 1-2. Depending on which line you got them at on FanDuel, Mendoza's plus 130, and who did I say for the second one? Sayin is plus 170. J to the ROC, Nam Sayin, Julian. Obviously an impressive performance from the both of them, but we'll see. We covered these guys for the highlight or for the Heisman pitch for you. And then we have 2 kind of dark, I don't want to say dark horses, but definitely viable depending on how they close out the season. You got Marcel Reed at A&M at plus 700, and then you got Ty Simpson from Alabama, who's just done an incredible job of rallying Bama, who has a big game this weekend as well to 8 straight wins. So we'll keep you updated on those guys as well. Yeah, what's up, man?
I was gonna say I'm gonna go ahead and let our guests know that they should hop in here in a minute or 2. But while I do that, could I give you just a few angles from a betting perspective of how you could kind of look at the rest of the year from the Heisman perspective?
Yeah, please do.
I would love to. So first of all, history would tell us that your best bet here is going to be a quarterback that is also in a spot to be pretty much a shoe-in for the college football playoff. All 4 of the top guys kind of check that box, so that's not doing much for us. But the second thing that I would hit on is they should be undefeated and have a quote-unquote Heisman moment to make up for any losses or wrongdoings or things of that nature. So like Mendoza, in my mind, has probably the cleanest season thus far with the most Heisman moments paired with it. Granted, some of those are his receivers making plays, but also the fact that he got that throw off, taking a shot like that against Penn State. That was fucking unbelievable. Sayin, though, is another guy. I'm more than willing to just let him become what it appears he is becoming, which is an absolute monster as a quarterback at Ohio State. But I feel like that this might be the one that actually pans out in the NFL. We'll see. The third point I would like to make, almost treat it like a mini parlay ladder. All right. So think of it. Number one, is Ohio State going to finish the year undefeated? Right? Does Michigan have their number or not? That's the first question you got to ask yourself. Because if they lose to Michigan, goodbye Heisman for Julian Sayin this year. I just don't think you can give it to him at that point. Two, Indiana. Do I think they're going to finish unbeaten? Probably. And then does the SEC champion finish with one or less losses? If the SEC champion has 2 losses in a year that's as competitive as this one, Jaden Daniels, obviously, when he won the Heisman at LSU, I think was 9-3, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But he was just significantly just the best player in the country. Like the stats could go out and prove it. The numbers are looking fairly even across the board for a lot of these guys, especially the Mendozas and Sayans of the world. So think of point number 4, which would be timing. Timing matters in this instance a lot more than precision. The biggest closing line value edges are gone, right? Like the plus 2,000, plus 5,000 numbers, those are dead. Right now is all about reacting the week before. The week before the market can take a narrative and run with it, make a guy, have juice on him for the book. When you start getting Mendoza at like the minus 140, right? That's when you're cooked. It's game over. If Reed goes out and puts up 5 touchdowns this week on South Carolina,
and maybe probably going to want to have the season too.
Maybe against Texas, you're probably going to have a ticket on him with him having significantly better value than a lot of those guys. But last point number 5, think in small stacks. All right. Don't think about bullets. Think about stacks. So the reasonable setup right now should look like this. I would put Julian Sayin at number 1 for your, like the small chalk anchor, if you will. I would put Mendoza as the number 2 in terms of where I'm looking right now from a betting perspective, but I would not throw on Mendoza now because of the value that is available for him. So like, if you got him earlier, then great. You're loving life. You're feeling good. But if not, then count your blessings and just, I guess, hammer on Indiana's like playoff odds or whatever those look like. 3 and 4 would be a Ty Simpson and or a Marcel Reed. Your SEC, what if everything breaks my way type of ticket. And then the last one is like a bit of a long shot, but a fun one. I know Texas Tech's head coach made a hell of a case for what's his name? Jacob Rodriguez, a linebacker, defensive sicko is the ticket that this one is called. He's got 91 tackles, 9.5 for loss, 7 forced fumbles, 3 picks, 2 fumble recoveries, one of those being for a touchdown. And it's all for a top 10 Texas Tech team. I don't think it's possible for him to win this award because Ndamukong Suh didn't, and he was one of the best I've ever seen. But the other one, obviously, being Jeremiah Smith, he could be a fun time. So we're going to find out. But shall we move on? I feel like that's enough Heisman talk, if not more than enough.
It'll be variable throughout the season, but we'll get there as we cover the games. And speaking of games, week 12. We are coming down. It is so fucking sad, man. The final 3 weeks of the season, right? 2 buys in there, 12 games. Yeah. Final 3 weeks of the season are here. And with that, we will be covering the week 12 slate. We have a celebrity guest appearance. Owl Jolson. Clap it up for Owl, more affectionately known as OJ. His first time on the Rent Money podcast. We are excited to have him on. Owl, why don't you go ahead and take the floor, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Listen, it's a pleasure to be here, boys. Been tuning in, listening in, finally get to be on the pod. It's a damn pleasure. Texas Pete, it's been a long time coming.
Yes, sir.
Really just just a fan of the game, just a fan of ball. More so a fan of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who's going to have a big one this weekend. Really like their last true test, seems like, of the season. So
100%.
Not according to
And which is a
Narduzzi.
great segue. Which is a great segue to go into it, right? As you guys know, our loyal listeners who are sponsoring this week's episode, we appreciate you. We love you. You guys were tapped into our preseason pod where I put a big old ticket on the line for Notre Dame to make the playoffs, thinking they just had to split one of the first 2 games of the season, and they easily walked their way in. They decided to take the hard route and have to rattle off 10 straight to end the year, in which they have their last major test with going on the road at Pitt. Game day is going to be there in Pittsburgh. Notre Dame at Pitt. Pitt is 12.5-point home dogs. Totals at 53.5. This is the last test for Notre Dame, barring any flukes, i.e. the boneyard, dare I remind you guys. Catastrophes that can happen. This is a massive game for your Irish. There's no room for error. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you guys. What are you guys thinking so far? I know it's not necessarily the same caliber of opponent. You know, obviously it's a 12.5-point spread, but nonetheless, you still have to go out there on Saturday and win the damn game. What are some things you guys are looking for?
I want to say this first and foremost before I give it over to OJ. As OC, aka Old Chisholm, if you can't tell, this is the bloodline. This is the heir to the throne, if you will, in Mr. Jolson. But I would say that he is a larger Notre Dame fan. He's been a more consistent and therefore a longer tenured Notre Dame fan. I took a few years off while attending the University of Iowa. Also because I couldn't watch games ever. I was bartending every Saturday. But I would love it if you just kind of, let the dogs out. And just kind of give it to them for a bit.
So, I mean, obviously, like going into this game this weekend, Pete, you're asking about what I'm expecting or what I'm anticipating should be the case. There's no reason that Notre Dame shouldn't blow them out. And it's going to sound very homerish. I understand that. But if Notre Dame fans such as myself are going to talk about the team in the light that they should be a playoff team and that they belong in the playoff, there's no reason that you can't put away Pitt. And to be honest, I'll be fairly discouraged if I see that be a fairly close game. I understand that people are like, oh, Pitt's sneaky good. There's a reason Vegas they have this as Pitt as 12.5-point dogs at home. We're anticipating Notre Dame to come out here and do what they should do, which is run the ball well. And CJ Carr, being the young, very talented true freshman that he is at quarterback, he should be able to take care of the football and move them down the field. So I think really I'm anticipating I'll be bummed if it's not like a 3-score win.
I don't necessarily need specific, I guess, benchmarks for it, but if you're watching this game on Saturday, what are some things that you need to see happen in the flow of this game in order to convince yourself hey, you know what, maybe we can take another run at this season?
I would like to see, this is going to sound very old head-ish, but I really like watching just strong play in the trenches. If they can dominate on the offensive line and then generate pressure on the D-line, that front seven, if they can get home, I will feel so much better just down the stretch. I mean, their defense has shown up the last 7 weeks. So that's been good, especially after the first 2 weeks of the season where we didn't have a defense. So if they can win in the trenches and control the game the way that they're supposed to, because that's one of the things I think that is interesting is everybody wants to throw Notre Dame in this bubble they need to play a certain way in order to be successful. They don't. They need to play their brand of football just really well, which is exactly what they did last year, and it got them to a national championship. Granted, they got outclassed in the Natty, but I think anybody would have against that Ohio State team. But that's beside the point.
Not to cut you off there, but a couple immediate thoughts that I had just hearing you kind of start on that. First of all, comparing this team to last year, right? Last year, you have the stumble, obviously, against Northern Illinois. after a Texas A&M victory. This year, almost the complete opposite, right? Where it's 2 losses that were to top-ranked teams, one on the road, one being at home, but the home game as well. We'll put an asterisk on that for the time being. But not to open that can of worms. I feel like last year they had to play a completely different style of football than their brand of football, at least on offense, from what I've seen in the past. Whereas this year, I'm almost getting shades of like, if Jimmy Clausen wasn't an asshole and was actually really good at football early in his career, what if that's what this is what we're watching now? Like, what are your thoughts on last year versus this year?
I think last year versus this year, it's interesting to compare the two teams. I mean, from an offensive perspective, I think that this team this year is much more what Denbrock wanted, because I think what CJ Carr is what Riley Leonard wasn't. Granted, I will go on record and say Riley Leonard is my favorite Notre Dame quarterback I've watched in my lifetime so far, just because of what he did for the team. And he was just the perfect leader for that Notre Dame team. But CJ Carr has such a live arm, and he shows like legitimate shades of being special, like at the quarterback position in his first year as a starter. And I think that Denbrock is a guy that wants to throw the football. Like obviously any OC would want to establish the run, especially when you have Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price in the backfield, but
and
he
nice
wants
Williams.
to throw the, you got to shout him out. I know you have to, but it's one of those things where it's, offensively, this team is more complete this year for sure. They have a better quarterback, and then all around they just got better at every position. Defensively is what scares me, because the one question mark I had going into this year was CJ Carr, and he looks to be solid, or at least good enough to get you wins, like a playoff berth, and then potentially wins in that playoff. And it's the defense that's been suspect. So I think the defense took a step back because they lost some defensive line help. And then the secondary's obviously been a little worse without the likes of Xavier Watts in the secondary. BMO is out for the year anyway, but we'll see. I think the defense took a step back. The offense took a step forward. We just have to hope that like Marcus Freeman has grabbed Chris Ash by the balls and just has him ready to have the boys ready, really.
Yeah. It's a cool infusion of youth.
OJ, we talked about it a little bit before you came on, but Notre Dame at 9 in the latest iteration of the CFP ranking. So fully in the driver's seat for their playoff hopes. Win out and you're in. We kind of knew that going into it, but it's been solidified this past week with that 9 spot, no longer on the fringe. So are you kind of, I don't want to say scouting ahead. It's way too early to be doing that, but are you going to be looking at other games throughout the weekend and like eyeing, maybe a potential matchup and how you kind of would square up with them? Is there a preference for a style of team you would like to play, or what would that ideal first round matchup look like?
Well, I think, to be honest, I haven't done too much scouting thus far. I've obviously seen on like Twitter, I've seen some tweets like circulating of Notre Dame matched up with Oregon round 1. That doesn't scare me at all, if I'm going to be completely honest. I guess I'm willing to say that. I mean, I think that'd be, obviously, I think Oregon's a good team, and I think Lanning's one of the best coaches in the country, but that is like the most recent matchup to be trending. I just think that there's so much left on the table right now. Like there's so many games that are going to have teams fall a certain way that I'm not too worried quite yet about who they're going to be playing, because I mean, I just hope that I think any team that I'd be more scared for them to play round 1 is probably going to have a bye. So,
yep, we'll definitely see how it shakes out. Chisholm, you got any thoughts on this game, or do you have any plays on this one for us? Reminder: Pitt is 12.5 home dogs, totals at 53.5.
Yeah, I'm all in on Notre Dame in this one. I do want to bring up, though, there's a few narratives that have been going around, Owl, and I want to get your thoughts on them. The first one being, a lot of the stories that you see from people kind of fighting against the SEC bias, Notre Dame putting up, fucking Little Sisters of the Poor numbers against Arkansas, getting Sam Pittman fired, and, essentially Texas A&M going out and nearly losing that game just a few weeks later, 45-42 versus 53-10 was the score for us. But then flip that on its head, looking away from the SEC and now to the ACC, right? Notre Dame beats Boston College 25-10 going on the road, a fairly low scoring game there for us. And then
Credited me
SMU
with that BC road win, bro.
SMU, you're not listening to me, TP. SMU comes in and they hang 45 on Boston College after having not the best year. So I guess, what are your thoughts on like some of the games they've played, the narratives that are getting thrown around? Like, does the Arkansas game mean as much to you as it does apparently to everyone on Twitter?
You mean like in a way that is a great win or an impressive win? Because
versus the latter.
Yeah. The Arkansas win, I don't put too much weight in. I don't think that that's a very good team. I know that people were talking very highly of their offense, like going into the year, and they looked strong over like the first couple weeks of the year. But if you're Notre Dame, the expectations going into the year, like as a fan, is like, okay, my eyes are on the CFP. I'm not like, I don't want to look at a win against like the bottom of the barrel of the SEC and think to myself like, oh yeah, because of this team is for real. I think it was good to see it. It's good to see a team do what you think they're supposed to do. And that's what I thought they were supposed to do.
Well, let's not forget here. Obviously love the Notre Dame support that we get from OC and OJ. But Notre Dame simply just doesn't have the same win on their resume as their other peers in the CFP, right? Their probably best win of the season, their top few wins of the season is going to be against 3-loss Navy, against 4-loss Pitt, and probably against 4-loss USC. So those are going to be the primary notches in your belt. Let's not discount the fact that I know we talked about it on last week's episode, but the schedule timing. Obviously, front load your season with those tough games, and then put whoever the fuck you need to those final 10 games. It's so long. You still have to go out and rattle them off. 10 straight. Got to give respect to it, but like not the same competition that a lot of their peers in the college football playoffs are playing at this stage in the season. Just wanted to throw that one out there as well. Make sure we're not just a complete suck fest over here.
No, I think that's very valid. I'm going to be honest. Like, I think it's valid because I was seeing some discourse online about like, okay, if you're a Notre Dame fan and like, let's say Miami runs the rest of the way and they win the ACC, granted, it's a very weak conference. I understand that. But like, there is a world where Miami is on the bubble and it's like, oh, do we go Miami or do we go Notre Dame? And you have to like honor head-to-head matchups, things like that. I know that's a fairly specific example, but I was seeing some discourse about that online.
Well, that decision's been made already with Notre Dame at the 9th spot.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you for sure. I agree. I think Notre Dame definitely. I think the committee. That's the other thing, Pete, is that like it's clear that like the committee, while everybody would acknowledge that Notre Dame does not have the quality win this year. I think that really what it comes down to is it's clear the committee is paying attention to like the optics of this. Like, I think that they're seeing that Notre Dame looks like they're clearly not the same team that they were the first 2 weeks of the year. They're just not. Their defense played at a much better. Exactly. They've played at a much better level. And so Notre Dame looks to be one of the best teams in the country, worthy, at least in their committee's eyes, of being in the CFP. So I think like regardless of, people could argue all day long about like how maybe they don't think Notre Dame deserves it because the two best teams they played, they lost. But I think that the committee clearly sees that this is a team that not only played those games extremely close down to the last drive, but did it with a freshman quarterback that had never played a snap of D1 football. So I think that this team obviously is different than it was. Well, just as a Notre Dame fan, you have to hope and pray that all the shit you've talked this entire way as they beat up on ACC teams and shit like that, you're able to back it up. But
I think last thing I want to bring up is exactly what TP just said, talking about like the scheduling and playing not the best teams. And I'm not even going to bring up like strength of schedule or anything like that, because I think it's all heavily biased towards the SEC. We've all discussed this before. It's a subjective rating. It's not something that you can look at as like a true testament of whether or not a team's season was difficult. But next year's schedule is even softer than this year's. I think their hardest game next year is either Miami or SMU. 2027, they start to bring Auburn and Georgia Tech back into the equation, which who really gives a shit if Haynes King is gone, Clemson as well. But 2028 is what I want to talk about. 2028, I just was looking at this schedule earlier in the week. They're going to start the year against Texas, then Arkansas. They'll go to Purdue, take a little bit of a breather there, assuming that Purdue is still dog shit. Then they go to Auburn. Then they go to Virginia Tech. Then they play Clemson. They go to Navy. And then they get Boston College, Miami, and Pitt as their like ACC teams. But assuming Miami is going to be solid, I mean, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, potentially 4. I'll go ahead and say Clemson will right the ship, 5. And then let's say 6 for Miami. I mean, that's half your games are against ranked opponents, or should be, as of 2025 November. But I feel like that's the hardest part of being like a Notre Dame fan and talking about schedules is they made this schedule like 4 or 5 years ago when all of these teams, or at least the majority of the teams that they had scheduled, were supposed to be significantly better. Like Arkansas was not supposed to regress this much. Miami actually did their job for once. But like NC State, same thing. USC, same thing. Pitt, thank you guys for getting ranked right before we played you, but like, who gives a shit? And Syracuse won't have Angeli healthy, so like, I don't even want to watch that game now because I'm just going to be thinking of the Italian Stallion the whole time.
I think to put like a kind of put a bow on what you're saying there, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we can talk about the 2028 schedule and like how it looks to be like it's going to be tough, but my thought is like, all right, what's the expectation that Notre Dame fans are like myself are saying every year going into the year is like this team needs to be able to compete for a natty at this point under Freeman. Like he needs to have the guys ready to be a CFP team at a minimum. And this is a non-issue. The scheduling is a non-issue if they just go out and win the games they're supposed to win. Just win. That's it. Like, okay, that's great. We're going to look at this schedule next year. No one would be talking about their schedule if they showed up and won every game and did it convincingly, at least enough. Even if they laid like a couple stinkers in there and still squeaked out a win, if they run the table and they make it to the CFP and are able to hold their own and win those games as well, at least 1 or 2, I don't think people are talking about Notre Dame's strength of schedule at that point because they look like they belong. Optics are a big deal. It's clear to me at this point how important that is to the public and to the committee.
Yeah. And last thing I have on my end, just so I can hear a little bit of discourse between the two of you, because I feel as though you'll have differing opinions here. But would love to get your guys' thoughts on Notre Dame, being independent, not tied to a conference, and how that kind of impacts their standing looking at the college football playoff every year.
I think you're able to dip and dodge, at least the subset of quality programs that are in each specific conference. You're able to kind of cherry pick the ones you don't want to play, and you don't have to because you're not tied down to those typical conference scheduling games that make, college football tough when you have to go on the road in the shoe, when you have to go on the road in Eugene, when you got to go down to Tuscaloosa, that kind of thing, which isn't every single season, I know, and I understand that, unless you have the rivalries. But it's this current system. I don't know who did it, but whoever was lobbying on behalf of Notre Dame did a pretty good job, because this is currently set up for them. There's probably not going to be a year unless they shit the bed completely. But that looks like 3 losses. You know what I mean? There's never going to be a 3-loss Notre Dame team that'll ever get in. And there hasn't been yet for other conferences, but there, maybe this year it could possibly be a thing, but at least they have a conversation. But if Notre Dame has 3 losses, there's no way they're ever getting in a CFP. But
that is true.
Too applicable.
That is true. I think that like it doesn't bother me really that I always give my buddies shit that are like Iowa fans, and I like Iowa. I actually pull for Iowa, but I'm definitely not a fan like a lot of my buddies are. Um, but whenever they're like, "Oh, Notre Dame should join a conference," I just always tell them, "You better pray it's not the Big Ten," just because I love to be an asshole back to them because they're always kind of like, "Well," and I'm like, "Okay, I mean, okay, who's Notre Dame? If Notre Dame were to join the Big Ten, they're not better than Ohio State. I know that on a given year." I mean, they're better than Penn State for sure at this point. I mean, Oregon, that's probably the conversation is Notre Dame, Oregon, if they were to be playing, it'd be who takes the number 2 spot in the Big Ten. I guess Indiana now is very relevant under Signetti, but I also I've yet to really we'll see.
But think about how fun those games would be with those.
They'd be great.
Not just to crown Ohio State, but obviously defending champion and in the post position this season as well. But like that, the games against, like, if you were to join the Big Ten, and I know it's just a complete hypothetical, but those Oregons, the Indianas, the Penn States, whether you're going on the road, that'd be like just so fun to watch. And
as a fan of
you'll play Indiana.
Oh yeah. Now
that I think about it. Yeah,
as a fan of college football, I would love to see it just because it's one of those things where it's like I'd love to see Notre Dame like prove to me that they're as good as I think they are, even in moments where I feel delusional. But I also like recognize at the same time, like I love the way that like Notre Dame's AD has really like gone out there and gone to bat for like the fact that they're independent, where it's kind of like everybody can kind of shove it because we're going to continue to like try our best to schedule good opponents. And I love that energy because what is he supposed to do? Like, is he supposed to get up there and say like, yeah, I don't know, I guess we'll like look to join a schedule? Because it's like, at the same time, it's everybody that's like banging the table saying Notre Dame's like scared to play people are the same people that didn't know what the hell to say when Marcus Freeman outcoached Kirby Smart last year. So it's like, I don't really know what to say. Like
quarterback.
Everybody said going into that game that Gunnar Stockton would play better than Carson Beck. And that's a fact. Like that was the discourse, was that like,
that was the narrative.
They might be better.
It was the discourse, but when you don't get first team reps for 15 straight weeks, what are we talking about here?
I agree. I mean, for sure. But like the fact of the matter. Yeah, the fact of the matter is Freeman put on a masterclass there, and Notre Dame beat who was supposed to be the top dog in the SEC.
Kirby just copied the play that Notre Dame did when they took their entire special teams unit off the field and ran all of their starters out. But I think they left a long snapper or something so that it was a legal play. And then whenever I think it was Georgia. It was Georgia. Obviously, we're talking about Kirby. They got penalized for it or something. And Kirby was fucking furious. This was like last Saturday. So even Kirby's like taking bits and pieces. But to end Owl's stint here, I'm going to give my biggest hot take. There's not one team, and there is not one team in all of college football that could do as well as Notre Dame if they were fully independent.
To be honest, I've never had that thought in my life. I've never thought about.
Not one school has everything that Notre Dame has when it comes to being independent, being a TV deal with NBC, just them, their own cultural brand. Shout out to Trains, but also Catholicism, the Irish, like the immigrants, whatever, from back in the day, their own scheduling power. And what I mean by that is not they pick and choose, but anyone that they ask, hey, do you want to play us? They're going to say yes, unless it's Michigan, in which case Michigan will continue to say no. For the recruiting poll, they literally recruit. They have pipelines all over the country, from California and Hawaii to like Florida and Texas. Like for no reason at all, they have very strong ties across the country, coast to coast. They have playoff access rules because of their independence. That's going to give them that friendly bounce. But there's zero dependence on the conference revenue split. And they don't care about that because of their TV deal. And I think if there was to be a team that could match it, I have 6 teams that could, but I don't think
they've all won a title
them.
within the past 25 years.
Probably.
That's what I was thinking.
But Ohio State,
rattling it off.
Michigan,
yeah,
Bama,
yeah,
Georgia,
yeah,
Texas,
Yup.
maybe Texas, and maybe USC. Longhorn Network did not pan out well at all, but also NBC's like everybody's.
From a pure football success wise, all those teams you named, they would be able to reap the same success that Notre Dame's seeing. From the business side, obviously, I'm not too privy into that, so I'm not even going to comment on it. But like, you could pick any of these top tier programs if they're able to. I know they set their schedule years in advance and stuff like that, but like, if you were able to set your schedule and you're one of those programs, you're going to go into the playoffs every single year.
100%,
But
there's a reason. There's a reason that they're all in conferences, and it's because of the revenue split and like the
tradition,
additional funds
history.
they make there. I would like to think it's that, but private equity
A cause
is
bigger than
otherwise.
yourself.
But yeah,
Sports
Alan
bullshit.
Jolson, to you. Any final thoughts before we kick you the hell out of here?
Yeah. I feel like only real final thoughts are these boys better go out there and just take care of business. I mean, it just needs to be like, you can't do anything other than take care of your opponent. Like we talked about earlier, Pittsburgh, sure, like they've got a little bit of spunk, but like they should not be a team that like Notre Dame fans should be like all being like, hey, that's a really good win. Really, really good win. I'm saying that now and like, wow, there's a chance that some shit happens this weekend and I'm devastated and I'm just taking like an hour-long shower. But I'd like to think that that's not going to happen. I've been wowed before with NIU and Marshall, but not to say that that's who Pittsburgh is, but we'll see. I think Notre Dame should go out there, take care of business. I'm expecting like a 3-score win. I'm expecting them to run the table the rest of the way and probably ruffle some feathers just because they got in with a 2-loss front-loaded schedule. So they just have to do what they did last year and get in, and then people are going to doubt, and hopefully they can show that they belong. But that's what it is at this point under Freeman. You just got to show that you belong. And as long as you do that, people won't really know what to say. Got to back it up.
All right. Thank you very much, OJ, for hopping on. We appreciate the guest feature.
Pleasure, gentlemen. It's a pleasure, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, bro. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right. Well, that was an extensive coverage of Notre Dame. I feel like that's going to be the last time that we'll probably talk about them this regular season. I think they have Syracuse and Stanford on the docket. So nothing really barring any just absolute. Chisholm's best case scenario is we don't talk about it until the playoffs is set, because that means something would have gone terribly wrong. So glad we were able to get that in. But we were kind of predicting that throughout the season. All right. We'll just rattle off a handful of other games. Yes, we did, and hopefully it pays out. Rattling off a handful of other games. So we were talking about it, but I know we cover a lot of these teams, but these games all have playoff implications, so we're probably going to be double dipping throughout the rest of the regular season. But the first one, maybe throw you a little curveball here for our ACC aficionados that are in the chat. UVA at Duke. Duke is 4.5-point home favorites. The 5-4 Blue Devils are favored by 4.5 points over the 19th ranked UVA, I think. Totals at 58.5. But the reason for this is UVA lost last weekend. Their starting quarterback, Chandler Morris, went out with a concussion against Wake Forest in a 16-9 loss. Last I saw, which I just checked about an hour ago before taping on Thursday evening, is that he will be playing, and the line moved 2.5 on the news. That's per Jerry Ratcliffe, covering Virginia athletics since the beginning of time. So a very reliable source there. But I'm telling you what, we're going to be taking UVA here. This Duke defense is absolutely atrocious. For all your egomaniac friends at home who say they could get 3 yards in a football game, whether it's Division I or NFL, this Duke defense is one of the few that they probably could. So we're going to take Virginia plus 4.5. I absolutely love that number. Just being there. Their starting quarterback's going to be back. And I don't want this Duke to the ACC championship and maybe a playoff talk. I don't want no 4 fucking lost ACC team in my playoffs. So not to say that they necessarily would, but I'm not even going to entertain it. I know you're big on the ACC this past weekend. You got any thoughts on this game, or there's a couple more we can move into?
I do, just very briefly. First and foremost, I agree with you. Was very curious about the line movement in this game with Chandler Phillips being out. Looks like he's going to play, like you said. So I'm feeling pretty good about this one overall. And I think from a signal standpoint, you're seeing a lot of the money. The money is leaning heavier on the Virginia side, but with a lower bet percentage. And to me, that just backed by sharp movement as well. It just kind of seems like if you threw on Duke, then that was you just making the assumption Chandler Phillips wouldn't play. Because if Chandler Phillips doesn't play, Duke probably wins this game by double digits. I don't see, or at least based on what we know, and this is all we can really go off of, he's gonna play. I think the line at least is reflecting that after going down from 6. But also, you can get this line at plus 5.5 for UVA over at ESPN Bet. So make sure you go and hit that before it gets down to 4.5. Free points.
Make sure to hit it while you still can. Brings us into our next one, Oklahoma at Bama. This is on fucking ESPN or ABC or one of that bullshit. So I sure fucking hope they figure this shit out for all our YouTube TV subscribers. It's still criminal what Disney is doing to us, and we do not forget them. We talked about it on last week's episode, and we are still fighting the good fight. We are not going to be crossing the picket line for them. But that just means you got to go to your buddy's house who maybe has cable, maybe go to the bar. You got to watch this game. Big time playoff implications. Win or go home for Oklahoma. Essentially a win and lock yourself in for Bama, I think. Maybe a little bit too early to officially declare it, but they're 4 or 5 in the CFP ranking, so would pretty much solidify it. But we do reserve the right to be incorrect on this podcast, as we've said before. Ty Simpson, no relation to Webb, no relation to Orenthal. Just Ty.
What Simpson. About Jessica or Ashley?
No relation. Relation.
All right.
Ty is just simply too secure and smart of a quarterback to let this game get away from him, at least by his doing. 21 touchdowns, only 1 pick on the season. Maybe he's playing a little bit too conservative. Maybe that showed, what game was that? Against South Carolina when they had to come back late in the fourth quarter a couple of weeks ago. But 8 straight wins after the opening weekend loss against Florida State really speaks for itself. I think that being said, I got to play on this game. I don't know if you want to touch on it as well. But I think Bama knows, so long as they take care of the ball and kind of play the brand of football that have got them on this winning streak, they'll come out of here victorious and find themselves in the playoffs. So I like Bama team total under 25.5. I really like that 25.5 hook. I feel like it could kind of be weird. Oklahoma's defense is phenomenal. Alabama's defense is solid. I like the under, but I feel like you just get a little bit better edge taking the team total here. It could be like a 21-17 game, a 20-13 game, a 20-16 game, something like that is kind of what I'm seeing. So Bama team total under 25.5. And then just to point out, they have no one next weekend, and then they have the Iron Bowl at the end of the season. So given this Auburn program that is kind of struggling to find their identity again, I feel like with a win here, we'll kind of lock them in. Do you have an argument? Yeah. I know you're a big Mateer guy. Do you still have some magic left in them, or is this a season that just kind of started off hot and then faded away?
My argument would be 73019. For those of you who don't know, that would be the zip code of Norman, Oklahoma. And if they're not playing there, they're not playing there. They suck on the road. Mateer, granted, the injury did kind of happen after they started getting away from Norman, but Jesus H. Christ, they have struggled to get the ball moving anytime that they have been on the road. And I feel like because of that, you're being a little too gentle here. I think this is one of the better plays of the week. It's not just win or go home for Oklahoma. I think this is the team whose offense is going to fall off a cliff every time that they get out of their city limits. And the efficiency drops almost 30% when they go on the road. That's an insane number. 30% less efficient just because you're not at home. This is some 2017 Houston Astros type shit. Also, with Simpson being more conservative, he hasn't thrown for more than 300 yards since they played Vandy, and that was October 4th. So he's just been doing enough, right? When it comes to touchdowns, he's had at least 2 per game, except for the one against LSU this past weekend. But like, I don't know. Like I'm curious if this is a game where they let Ty Simpson kind of cut loose a little bit.
Why
His
would you?
his last two games have been some of his worst so far of the season. Actually, he had 60% completion against LSU and only 55.8 against South Carolina. Previous 3 games was like 65.5, 74, and 74. So like, let's get some juice back under the Ty Simpson train. Maybe give him a little late push for the Heisman, for his own sake. But if anything, I think my argument would be you're not on Bama enough.
That we're not on Bama enough?
I want you to come
We're
even
not
harder.
hyping them up enough? I'm trying to come harder, and I'm trying to, Chisholm.
I've been working
really
on it.
am.
I've been working on it.
We'll keep an eye out for you.
All right.
Looking to lock up that first round bye. Just a reminder, the top 4 seeds get it, not the top 4 conference champions this year. So a big switch up for those at home. But you touched on a point that kind of stuck out to me as well when you said Oklahoma is not a good road team. And that's exactly what is in this matchup at Texas at UGA. The Dogs are 6.5-point home favorites. The totals are 49.5. Barring the week 1 opener at the Shoe, which was fucking forever ago. And clearly whatever happens in week 1 doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying, Chisholm? We just talked about
100%.
that big segment.
Yeah,
Texas is a weak road team. Lost in the swamp. It took them overtime to beat Kentucky, and it took them overtime to beat Mississippi State. These are bottom 6 teams in the SEC, and they either lost or had to go to OT. So clearly whatever they have doesn't necessarily work on the road. But cool. Arches getting going week 12 into the season. Like, get out of here. Good for you. But Texas ain't rolling into Sanford Stadium on Saturday night game in Athens and coming out with a W. I feel very, very comfortable laying 6.5 on this. This line is definitely going to move before kickoff. So you might as well get it now while you still have that hook. But also just fun to note, Gunnar Stockton might be the Longhorn killer. Came in last season in the conference title game with the Beck injury and rallied the boys to a victory in the second half. So his first big moment in that Georgia uniform came against Texas. So just worthwhile to point out. Maybe he's got a little bit extra momentum on his side.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you're saying from the perspective of the Sharps are all over Georgia. They've gotten how many moves? They've gotten 4 moves up to this point. And this is also a ranked matchup system play. So 58% win percentage, 12% return on your investment. However, not so fast, my friend. This is more of a matchup issue for me. Georgia's defense being the key issue. They're ranked 100th in EPA per pass allowed, 74th in dropback success rate, and 114th in pressure rate. That's not at all the team that we watched last year. Certainly not the team that went into Austin last year and gave Quinn Ewers one of the worst days of his life in burnt orange. But to that same point, we also saw Arch play a little bit in that game last year, and he also didn't look great. He's starting to heat up, and I know what you're saying. It's like about time, but he doesn't need to be Superman in this game at all. I think he just needs to be Ty Simpson, apparently. Give him a little bit more time, which shouldn't be an issue going against the Georgia team. I know that Texas's offensive line has also had some concerns, but seems like those are just going to kind of cancel each other out. If you give Texas's receivers clean releases, build up yak, you're going to just see a lot of Ryan Wingo. I think that's the name that's going to jump out a lot at you. And other than being ugly as shit, Gunnar Stockton has had a few good moments earlier in the year as well. But his inconsistency is what will kill him, whether it's in this game or whether it's later in the playoff or whatever Georgia ends up doing. I think Texas's defense is athletic. They're fast. They're big enough to be able to force him into 3rd and longs when he gets jumpy, because they're also not the best team when it comes to, I could be wrong on this. Actually, let me fact check myself before I say that. Last I checked, no, actually they've turned that around. They've actually been able to dominate on the ground a little bit in terms of yards per game. But if Texas can force them to have 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, kind of shut down the run early on drives, I think that's gonna be an issue. But I think the real play that I'm on aside from Texas plus 6.5, because that's just too many points. I'm big on the over in this one. I feel like this is going to turn into a game where both of the defenses are just trying to bend, don't break, but there's going to be more breaking than you would like to see, namely in the first half. I feel like this is going to be a first half come out swinging, second half settle in. So I'm going to go and throw on the first half over in this one as well, which let me pull it up to give you an exact number, 23.5.
All right. Massive playoff implications. It's always fun.
Huge.
This is a game you have circled. Hopefully, once again, this is on ABC or ESPN at night. Hopefully, you can fucking watch it. Yeah. There's one other game. We don't really have to go into detail on it, but I definitely think it's worth mentioning. Iowa at USC. USC is 6.5-point home favorites. Totals at 48.5. All I have to say is fucking A, man. This game could have been so fucking sick had we not shit the bed, defense shit the bed, whatever. Like, you still need to win it, but like, fuck, dude, this could have been awesome. That was my piece on that.
I hear you. I'll touch on this one because I have 8 plays on this game.
This game, yes. All right, so a little preface. We had some production issues, so we got delayed on recording for about an hour. So Chisholm looks over to me. He's like, dude, I'm going to rain some props on this game. And I haven't heard him yet.
And here they come. So first of all, we're going to be on the Hawks plus 6.5, but we're not going to stop there. We're also going to take the money line. We're not going to touch the total in this one because I'm over 2 on triple dippers this year, and I would really like to just double dip. Little one of those. So here's the props that I'm looking at. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 props. 2 of them are Mark Gronowski. 1 of them is Kamari, and the other 3 are going to be USC players. So for Kamari Moulton, I'm on his over of 74.5 rush yards. He's gone over this number in 5 straight games. He's probably going to do it again when he's going up against a dog shit USC rush defense. They are ranked 126th TP in rushing success rate allowed. It's also supposed to be a rainy day. I was going to be very familiar with that environment coming out of last week. Don't think that's going to be an issue. And therefore, I'm also going to double dip, or should I say triple dip? I won't. But Mark Gronowski, I have 2 props for him, both of them overs. The first one, over 140.5 passing yards. It's a low number. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to be out there raining hellfire by any means. But when it comes to this USC defense, they're going to be able to open up the field with some play action after dominating on the ground. And that's the second play that I have as well, is his over rushing yards at 29.5. He could get that in the first half if he just scrambles twice. So I'm not too concerned about that. I think at least 2 of those 3 are going to hit, maybe not the passing yards, but I feel confident Iowa's going to come out and just try to put some belt to ass after that game last week. Before the USC picks, go for it.
Everybody has a reminder that the QB sacks in college football count towards negative rush yards, but that's not really a thing with Gronowski because he probably drops back like 16 times a game compared to like these other guys dropping back like 45. So I like the value there. I'll probably hop on that one with you.
I'm excited for that one. Bro. No, you're fine. I appreciate the feedback, actually. There's 3 more plays. These are all USC oriented, and guess what? They're all unders. There's some correlation happening here, TP. I hope you can see it. The first one, Jaden Mayava, I'm going to take him as under 244.5 passing yards. I think Brandon Knight will probably have a great game. But Jaden Mayava not going to need to throw the ball as much, and he's not going to be able to because of the rain, the wetness. I don't know if you're familiar, but Albert Hammond let us know that it never rains in Southern California. And so when it does, brother, look out. That's going to impact 2 guys in particular if his passing yards don't hit. The first being probably the best slot wide receiver in the country, Mekhi Lemon, coming in. I'm going to take his under of 89.5 receiving yards, as well as Jacoby Lane on the outside at under 53.5 receiving yards. For those at home that are like, where is he getting all these? These are all on FanDuel or where I found them. However, I would recommend line shopping to see if you can get better because the juice on these is all about 114, minus 114. So don't forget to do your line shopping, get value where you can get it. There's my 8 plays for the game. And any others you want to cover, or should we just rattle off some picks?
Let's rattle off some picks and put a bow on this.
I'll let you go for it.
All right. So 2-3 last week. We're 23-20 year to date. Let me down last week, but we're going to be laying 29.5. Wisconsin at Indiana. The Hoosiers will get back to their dominating ways, but no way it happens twice. Wisconsin's leading passer last week was their punter off of a fluke fucking play. So these guys are not humming. They won. Cool. But Indiana likes running the score up. We're going to take that one again and give them a second chance. Arkansas at LSU. I'm taking the under 57.5. Both teams don't have a head coach. Garrett Nussmeier got benched last week. And their interim head coach said that both him and their backup, and whose name escapes me right now, says they're going to get snaps in this game. And what do we say, Chisholm? If you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one. So I think defense is going to be the side that'll translate easier in this one for him. So we'll take under 57.5. UVA plus 4.5 at Duke. Talked about that earlier. Same thing. Bama team total under 25.5. Texas UGA minus 6.5. Talked about all those. Taking Penn State minus 7 on the road in East Lansing against Michigan State. Just feel like they were kind of buzzing a little bit, got some momentum, turn it around, and Michigan State is just straight up dog shit. And then Florida Ole Miss over 53.5 to cap it off. Big play week. Let's go ahead, build that buffer above 500.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We got 15 plays. I've already mentioned a few of them. This is not including my 8 total plays for the Iowa game. So we got plenty of action coming your way. And I did some prep on these during our long production meeting. So let's get into it. First and foremost, Minnesota at Oregon. We're on the over in this one of 44.5. And listen here. If this game does not hit 45 points, TP, I'm going to start believing in witchcraft, because every single number that we got over at the Rent Money Studios says it's going to sail over that number like a beer shot out of a potato gun. Minnesota's defense is ranked 99th in EPA per play allowed. And that's not just bad. That's for getting your kids at the county fair bad. I could have done better than that. Oregon at home, however, averages almost 40 a game just by showing up, getting onto the field, breathing, as long as they're not in Iowa City, apparently. And Minnesota can move the ball on Oregon's soft middle interior. They're 26 right now, and their rushing success rate offensively, and Oregon's weakness all season has been giving up chunk runs up the middle. And if both of these teams don't accidentally trip and fall into 20 points a pop, I think it'll be a miracle, but Oregon could easily go out and blow this one open after barely escaping Iowa City. Next game, Wisco on the road, head into Bloomington. We're talking Indiana, folks. Wisconsin's offense is so lifeless that Kate Winslet grabbed a whistle and started blowing to the lifeboat closest to her after she watched it fall to the bottom of the Atlantic. Frankly, I don't think any paramedic, all of the King's horses, or all of the King's men has any shot in hell of helping this team, whether they had the film on it or not. But they rank 124th in overall explosiveness. They literally couldn't create a big play if you duct tape TNT to their tits. Indiana, meanwhile, they're a team that has either won by 40 or they're going to die trying. And especially against a fickle-led Wisconsin squad, fickly led, they're going to just show up and skull fuck is what I'm kind of seeing on this one. They're top 20 in pace offensively, Indiana is. So they're going to get extra possessions. They'll be able to run this thing up without really even trying. And I feel like it's going to be kind of disgusting to take a Big Ten Conference 30-point favorite, and it's not Ohio State. But I think it's less gross than watching Wisconsin attempt to convert a 3rd and long. Next game.
Yep.
This is another Big Ten matchup. Michigan is going on the road to Chirac. That's right, Northwestern. Michigan wants you to think that they're still this big boogeyman of the Big Ten. But the truth is they're the boogeyman of Columbus, Ohio. And I'm pretty sure their offense is addicted to Ambien because they look slow, confused. And more than often than not, they forget where they are. Northwestern, however, they're a team made of elbow grease. Shout out to Pat Fitzgerald, wherever he's at nowadays. He would have been proud. They tackle like they're pissed about some shit that went down in the fucking 80s. Speaking of 80s, that's where Michigan is ranked right now as far as passing explosiveness. They're ranked 87th. That's code for move in. They're not throwing it over your head. Bryce Underwood's not that guy, pal. Meanwhile, Preston Stone and Northwestern, they're going to cover the short stuff very well. Or I guess not Preston Stone, he's on offense, but defensively, they'll be able to cover the flats, force opponents into slower games than they want to play. Michigan might win, but 11.5 points at home, that's just way too much. And to double down on that, I have another play in this game, another prop, and that is going to be on Bryce Underwood to have less than 1.5 passing touchdowns. We know how Michigan treats young quarterbacks, and that's like borrowed tools because they're going to use them lightly. They're not going to scratch them, and whatever you do, just don't get them wet. South Carolina, let's talk SEC here for a second. They're going on the road to Texas A&M, and we're going to ride with Elko's boys in this one and take A&M at home minus 18.5. Here's why. South Carolina's blocking is dog shit. It should be illegal in at least 3 states, but I'm pretty sure it's only illegal in Puerto Rico at this point. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised the Federal Reserve hasn't made any comments on this because the government has yet to step in. Luckily, that furlough is ending, and they can do something about this 117th ranked offensive line that South Carolina has. No wonder Lenora Sellers can't stay healthy. He can't even stay safe. He is living essentially on O block in anytime he's stepping into the pocket. On the road as well, South Carolina has just been similar to Oklahoma. It's a bit of a traveling shit show. They just don't play clean. And I think it's the type of matchup that A&M doesn't just win, but they actually go out and they kind of put belt to ass. So I'm expecting that in this one. We already touched on Oklahoma and Bama. I had a couple of plays there. I know Bama 6.5. And then I had, where did I say, the over?
Yeah.
Yep. And then we're on the over in that one as well. Actually, I think it was supposed to be the under. I might have mistyped that. I think it's supposed to be the under, but I'm gonna zig my own zag, and we're gonna go under 46.5. To everything we just talked about, Ty Simpson doesn't have to go out and do anything special. He just needs to go out and get the win, play conservative. He's gonna get the win. Texas, Georgia, we already talked about. Arkansas and LSU. Without Jaden Daniels, without a properly mentally healthy Garrett Nussmeier, it's kind of like you're trying to drive a tractor that's missing 2 wheels. You could try, and you technically can, but everyone's going to look at you funny, and you're not getting anywhere fast. Arkansas, on the other hand, they're hitting like they've been waiting all week for this moment. For LSU's defense, they're ranked 113th in tackling. Tackling, a fundamental aspect of the game, and you're ranked 113th as a proud member of the SEC. Go off, Queens. But every Razorback, I think Braylon Russell is one of the guys that I would have my eye on in this one for an anytime touchdown. Taylon Green, another one. Green, said that weird. But their pass rush is the thing that I'm actually the most excited about because they're top 30 in havoc. Phenomenal stat. And so I think LSU is just going to be very uncomfortable from the jump if they weren't already having benched Nussmeier, and it's just a fucking shit show in Baton Rouge. And here's what you really came here for.
Let's hear it.
I'll save those two for the end, actually. We'll stick with the SEC for the time being. Florida, going on the road to Ole Miss. I know that this is one that TP actually called out, and I'm running with. So this is not a Texas play of the week, but my TP, my Texas Pete play of the week, my TPP. I really like Florida in this one. They're a 13.5 point home dog. And Ole Miss can't stop the run. If you gave every single guy on the field a gun, a cattle prod, and a copy of the Lord's Prayer, they still wouldn't be able to get shit figured out there because they're bottom 75 in rushing success rate allowed, which means that a dual threat quarterback and anybody carrying the football is going to be able to dictate the pace. And that's kind of their identity post Napier, is slow the game down, be annoying, and piss people off. And that's probably the worst case scenario if you're a Lane Kiffin Ferrari style offense, which is get out, hit the home run, make things happen. The long drives are going to shrink your margins. Ole Miss is infamous for struggling in those types of games if they can't get anything for cheap. And so I think the Rebels will win, but I do think that it's going to be within 2 scores. And so we're riding Florida there. Utah at Baylor. I don't want to talk about this game. I have notes for it. Just take Baylor 8.5 at home. TCU and BYU, same thing. I just don't want to talk about the Big 12. Just take TCU 3.5 points. They get to play with on the road. They'll cover that field goal spread. No problem. Last one before I guess we have 3 plays. These are your G6 plays of the week, folks. First one, Coastal Carolina. I'm talking Chanticleers on the road going to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is favored by 3.5 at home, and that's the play on this game as well. Their offense is fast. They're frantic. They're refusing to slow down. They look like they're late for a court date. Their secondary is a disaster zone, ranking outside of the top 110 in passing EPA allowed. I'm sorry, Coastal's secondary, not Georgia Southern's. And combining that with the top 15 passing success rate of Georgia Southern, it's kind of a mathematical guarantee that somebody's going to get fucked over the top. So keep an eye out for the deep ball in this one, and keep an eye out for Georgia Southern minus 3.5. Next one, Utah State heading over to La Vegas, taking on UNLV, and we're going to be riding with the Aggies squared this week. Feel free to do a little Aggie parlay between Utah State and Texas A&M. UNLV, the Dan Mullen-led Rebels, are coming into this one and relying on turnovers, kind of like an alcoholic uncle who relies on scratch-offs in order to pay for his overdue child support. Love you, Uncle Steve. Utah State is a top 25 in explosive pass rate and top 20 in tempo. That just means that they're playing fast as shit and they're chaotic as hell. And that's going to let them cover even when they're down double digits versus a UNLV defense that ranks outside of the top 90 in success rate allowed. Utah State should be able to kind of move the chains at will as a backdoor wide open type of profile. So just take the dog, take the chaos, take the points, trust Chisholm on this one. Utah State +6. And I believe this is the last one. Wyoming heading to Fresno State. This is another road dog that I am liking. Wyoming's catching 3.5, heading over to Fresno, and they're going to drag you into a brand of football that is so ugly that it should come with a box with a sticker on it with a big old warning that just says hazard, hazmat, danger, do not touch, whatever. They slow the game down and make every snap miserable. So as an Iowa fan, I love that. And force you to make mistakes. It's just going to be a battle of wills pretty much versus Fresno, which is more so a finesse school. And it's great when they're up, they're ahead. Think of like the Baltimore Ravens, if you will. When they're winning, it's tough to catch up with them. But if they're not, then it's going to be tough to kind of get back into the driver's seat there. And the fact not Wisconsin, Wyoming's defense is top 30 in explosiveness allowed or lack thereof. Fresno is going to have a tough time hitting like the quick strike plays that they're used to. And so this is like a 23-20 finish that I kind of see on this one. So I think Wyoming covers that 3.5. I already read through all the Iowa plays. I'm not going to do that again, but that should wrap up. That should wrap up what we're going to call the gulag. It's not really a gauntlet. This is a gulag slate.
Let's fucking go, man. Week 12 is here. The college football season is ending. But we got a lot of action before we get there. It's not over quite yet. The scores have yet to be settled. Just fucking excited, man. Chisholm, was an absolute pleasure to be here with you. If you want to go ahead and put a bow on this bad boy for us.
I got you.
See you guys next week.
We got to get you to sleep, my sweet prince. But before we do that, quick shout out to the man in the arena. That's right. Run It Back Jones brought home the ship tonight over at the, let me zoom in here, the Chicago Sport and Social Club. That's right. They're your 2025 Rec League champs. So great work. Run It Back. Can't wait for you to run it back next year. We'll go ahead. I'll give you a call probably right after we finish this up. But before I do that, I would highly encourage all of you to do this as well. Go ahead and call your bros. Let them know you care about them, that you love them. and then call Run It Back Jones. Tell him congrats on the chip. And then call your bookie right after that and just tell him that we said hi.